Hi everyone, it's Peter Zellums, Griniflix, Adventure 8. What sort of excuse do you need to buy a new camera? I thought I'd just do a bit of a reflection over the years of photography, from my early days in film photography and also then moving on to digital photography, and what sort of excuses did I use to actually buy a camera. I found that you only need one reason, one excuse, and often it's an emotional reason and then it's backed up by fact. So, when I bought these cameras is not so important other than just finding out what was the reason. So, the nickel matte. The reason why I bought one of these, and okay, I only bought this about a year ago or so. It's an old one, but my brother had nickel matte. That's how I got introduced to 35mm film photography, single lens reflex photography. So that was the excuse to buy the nickel matte. Once, prior to the nickel matte, actually, I did have a Canon. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was an A1 or AE1, something like that. Anyway, it was in the same period as the nickel matte, and soon after. And I got a Nikon FE, which I don't have right now. Maybe I'll get one of those too one day. But I did eventually buy a Nikon F2 film camera. And what was the reason for that? Well, the F2 at the time was considered to be professional, and I wanted to be professional, so that was the reason why I bought the F2. And it was a great camera. I did quite a bit of photography with it, took numerous weddings with it as well, and so I still have it. That's the original F2 that I bought back probably in the 70s, 1970s. So as I was developing my photography, in wedding photography, and then started to get more into the corporate scene and the portrait work, I got myself a Bronica. Now, why did I choose the Bronica? I couldn't afford a Hasselblad. And I think the Bronica at the time was probably about 1/4 the price of the Hasselblad. And it was basically a copy of the Hasselblad. And I took some wonderful portraits stuff with that. So, and again, what was the reason for buying 2 1/4 square film, taking 120 film? And was, again, I wanted it to appear to be professional to the corporate scene. At the time, if you turned up with a 35mm camera, you weren't necessarily seen as professional as if you were turning up with a larger format camera to take some portrait photos for the corporate magazines, for the annual report, etc. Once I got into the Bronica, I then found myself getting one of these babies, a Mamiya RB67. It's huge. So it takes the same 120 film, but it's rectangular, so it's 6cm by 7cm. And instead of rotating the camera, if you want to change from portrait to landscape, you just rotate the back. So that's landscape, and that's portrait. And then you can take the film back off, etc. And it's wonderful. It's huge. Anyway, so I did some work with this, but you can see how huge it is. And with the setup and everything, well, and also you need a large room. I had a couple of lenses, so similar to this one. This one's a 75mm. Coincidentally, Nikon Nickel P lens. And this is a Mamiya lens, I'm pretty sure. Mamiya lens, and 250 millimeters. So I'm guessing that's probably around the 120 or 105 in 35 millimeter speed, thereabouts. Huge. In my wedding photography days, I worked for a photographer who used Leica equipment, and I can't remember exactly which one I had, but whether it was an M4 or an M5 or an M6, but I suspect it might have been an M4 or M5. Anyway, so I picked up one of these old M4 film cameras for nostalgic reasons. Take me back to the days when I was using Leica equipment for wedding photography. Back in those days, I was just using one lens, which was a 35mm f2 lens. And I believe that it's a popular format for some photographers just to use one lens for weddings. So that's the film excuses. The excuses I used to buy the film cameras. I will get onto the digital cameras in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Subscribe, like, comment. What was your excuse to buy a particular film camera? Something exotic, maybe? I'd love to hear it. I might want to get one too, if you've got a good excuse. But anyway, subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you on the next video, which will be covering why the digital cameras. Cheers.